We always appreciate the opportunity to catch up with Bluffton State Representative Weston Newton, the chairman of the House Judiciary Committee in the state legislature. The legislature has been done for a little more than a month now. One of the things that happened that Representative Newton was right in the middle of was really a change in how we elect judges going down the road. Sounds fairly important. Weston, tell us what you guys did and how it's going to impact us.
Thanks, Bob, and always great to be with you today. You know, in 24, actually, we passed the legislation that for the first time included executive appointments, the governor's appointees, on the screening committee. It's known as the Judicial Merit Screening Commission or Committee. That screens the judges, finds them qualified, and then issues a report to the General Assembly.
Okay.
That law did not go into effect until July 1, so very recently.
Okay.
For the first time, the executive branch, recognizing balance of power, has a role in the qualification and selection of judges in the state of South Carolina. You know, some other components really of that new judicial reform are not only the executive appointments, but term limits. The suggestion had been that lawyer legislators, whether this is a real or perceived concern,
right,
had inappropriate influence and inappropriate connection to the judges they were screening. And so in order to address that concern or criticism, we've limits. So a member of the committee, whether they be a lawyer, legislator or not, they are required to be practicing members of the South Carolina bar, be a member for at least 10 years. That way you'd be qualified to be a judge yourself. Mm-hmm. But you'll never, with term limits, the same screening commission will never see a judge up for re-election.
Okay.
So it would create a Chinese firewall or a Chinese wall, if you will, for sort of the notion of quid pro quo.
Okay.
And lastly,
yes,
of the three big pieces, it included expanding the cap from 3 to 6. So there had been suggestions that the cap was artificially used to keep the best candidate out of the race. Mm-hmm. And now by expanding that to 6, you'll have a larger pool of judges potentially found qualified moving forward to the General Assembly for election. So
all right.
The judicial reform is modifying the statutes that provide for the screening committee, preserves the constitutional requirement that judges in South Carolina are elected by the General Assembly, but addresses the biggest concerns that were raised: balance of powers, and the undue influence or inappropriate exposure. So I'm pleased that law went into effect. I look forward to seeing its effects in the years to come.
All right. Let me kind of veer off topic just a little bit, but a lot of us are still concerned about what happened down in Texas last week. Are you comfortable with where the state of South Carolina is, at least from what you could impact in the legislature? Are you comfortable with where our state is with regards to disasters that might be coming up with all the changes that could be happening at FEMA and NOAA and all of that going on federally? Are you comfortable with where South Carolina is?
You know, Bob, we don't know exactly what those changes may look like at the federal level. What I can tell you is very conservative budgeting over the last handful of years and commitments to increase the reserves in South Carolina, as well as funding the resiliency programs that the governor's had. We have put resources aside to be available as needed, and hurricane might be one of those issues. But really, until we understand what the changes are in the federal law, right, and what those changes may be in FEMA and the response resources and the response agencies from the feds, we don't know exactly what that looks like. But what I can tell you is that, we do expect there to be some impacts.
Sure.
And as those become clearer in focus, we'll be in a position to more fully evaluate the resources that we have put aside, the additional reserves that we have put in. But I'm comfortable that, we're not living on a razor thin,
Okay.
spending every dime that the
Right.
state collects. I mean, our goal is, and we're continued to be committed to lowering the income tax in South Carolina. And in doing so, there were substantial revenues this year that came
Sure.
into the state. Some that were used to buy down the income tax, some projected to buy down in future years. But we've also, at the same time, grown the statutory reserves through legislation in the last handful of years. So what I would tell you is, yes, I'm optimistic. But I'm not
Right.
unconcerned
Right.
that a major event in Beaufort County, and along the coast of South Carolina may strip the state or outpace
Yeah.
the efforts that we have. But that's something that we're
Okay.
continuing to look at.
All right. Just wanted to take your pulse on that. Thanks so much, State Representative Weston Newton, Chairman of the Judiciary Committee of the South Carolina State House. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you again soon.
Good to chat with you, Bob. Have a great day.
We'll be back with much more of the WHHI Daily News right after this.